and welcome to the 6th episode of Basha's Thoughts. So today I thought I'd speak about sadness, a general type of sadness where you might not know the reason for its existence, but it's sort of there, lingering in the background, and how it can be related to the schizoid structure in bioenergetics. But I'd like to talk about it by sharing an example, me, and my experience, because I have a strong schizoid structure. And so this will not be a pure schizoid, like a hypothetical school example. Instead, it's going to be a real life example of what sadness can look like in the schizoid. So, in my case, I have an easy time feeling sadness. And the thing is that it doesn't seem to be related to anything in particular. So it seems kind of strange because there is no apparent loss. There is no person that I lose or no object that is lost. There is nothing, no property, no trust, for instance, no job, no position. Nothing seems to be lost. And yet, there's this lingering type of sadness. And so, a while back, I was having problems with my hip. And a friend of mine suggested I try rebirthing. Now, this is a therapy form where you hyperventilate, basically. And after a while, this will start altering your mindset, and you can access different types of information. So, since I had the opportunity, I decided to do it. And I did it with the intention of focusing on my hip pain and trying to figure out what is the underlying problem. Is there an emotional problem? Was there an event that led to this? So I wanted to connect with the origin of my hip problem. And so we did the rebirthing. And after a while, as I was starting to move into this other type of mindset, you could say, something did happen. I did connect with something. And what was it? It was sadness. And it was deep, profound sadness. But the really irritating thing about it was that it wasn't related to anything. Most other people who were in this group, rebirthing group, were telling stories of how they remembered and recalled things and how now they understand how things are interrelated. And for me, I would just feel really profound sadness. And when I was feeling this sadness, I would let it pass through me. I would really feel all of it. And I could feel my body crying. I could feel as if a physical sadness was sitting in my body, but there were no memories, no events related to this feeling. And so, after that, there was this type of release, I guess, because I cried, but nothing really changed. I mean, the pain in the hip continued, and I didn't really have any deep insights. Where does this sadness come from? And why is it so easy for me to connect with sadness? Well, this is actually related to the schizoid structure. And the schizoid structure, if you don't know, it's one of the structures in bioenergetics. It's created just like any other structure through a trauma. Now, the trauma of the schizoid is rejection, very early rejection. So even before you're born or right after you're born or the first 6 months of your life, if at that time the baby feels rejected or interprets things around it, events, as a rejection, then it can form the schizoid structure. And it's something that is so deeply ingrained. And the schizoid structure with rejection at its base has to do with survival. Because if a tiny baby is rejected, it has no chance of survival. And so this is kind of a life or death threat. And it becomes set in the body and in the mind even before you can think, even before you can speak, know of any language. It's there in the body. And rejection is basically saying, you are not worthy of being here. That's the message that the baby gets. You are not worthy of being alive. And in my case, this probably happened because I had a traumatic birth. And after that, I almost died. And after that, my mother also went through a trauma, and so she didn't have any milk. So I've never actually had human milk. And I was isolated in the beginning. So I was all alone. And when they were feeding me, it took them actually a couple of weeks to realize that they were feeding me too little. So I wasn't even getting my basic needs met when I was tiny. So my first idea of this world probably was not very positive, and it was probably interpreted by me as a rejection. I was being rejected, and I wasn't being worthy of being here. I don't remember this. I don't recall this. I only know of the facts, which is great because that has helped me understand probably how this was formed. And what happens in the schizoid is that a schizoid very quickly learns to dissociate from its feelings. And the number one focus is everyone else and the situation around the schizoid, or in this case, the situation around me. So I don't have to feel my feelings. I can put them aside and then first focus on the feelings of everyone else, the needs of everyone else. And once I see that, okay, everything is okay, then I can go back to me. But the thing is, if you practice this enough, then sometimes it becomes difficult to go back and even know what it is that you are actually feeling, what it is that you are actually needing, because most of your life becomes focused on everything else and everyone else. And this thing of being able to disassociate from your feelings is very useful sometimes. So in a crisis situation, for instance, when someone else is going through a crisis, in my case, I noticed that I'm able to just put my feelings aside. And so if someone is dying in front of me, and unfortunately, I have had situations like that, and it's a crisis situation, well then I don't go into a panic mode. I don't feel, oh my God, you're dying. I don't know what's happening. Nothing like that happens. Instead, I just put my feelings aside and I go into a mental mode of trying to solve the situation. Okay, this is what's going on. What can we do? Let's do this now, let's do that. So it's kind of good in a way for the crisis situation. And then afterwards, I usually get to feel my feelings. Afterwards, things do come up, but only once everything has been settled. And then I deal with my feelings, whatever it is that comes up. So it has its positive side, but it also has this negative side. And this idea of a deep type of unworthiness, it's so interesting because it's not something that you necessarily have to believe or think. It doesn't really have to be in your thoughts even. And I can notice it even in little things. Like for instance, it becomes more difficult for me to receive than to give, because I'm not really fundamentally worthy of receiving, because I'm not even worthy of being alive. Of course, this isn't anything I really think, but it's kind of been encoded into my body in some sense. Let me give you an example. So I have this course, for instance, on bioenergetics, and in order to make this course, it took me years of study and so many things to go through to get to that level of insight. And then it took me months and months to create all of the new tools that I created, and then create the course, and then actually record the course and everything. So it was a lot of energy that I put into it. And I feel that it's amazing information. And yet, when my friend told me, "Oh wow, I saw that you have this course, I want to buy it," what happened? Well, the first sensation was, "Oh no, you're my friend. I cannot allow you to buy it. Why would you pay for it?" That was the first. But then she really wanted to buy it, and she asked me, "And I want to make sure that the money actually goes to you." And so it was a practice moment for me to feel, okay, it's all right. She wants to do it this way. Let me try to receive that. Also, another moment, for instance, related to this was, there was another person, not a friend or anything like that, who sent me a message and said, "Hey, I saw you have this course. Great, I was able to get it for just $10. And what happens inside of me? Now, I'm going to tell you what happens, but it's not on the level of thoughts. So these are not actual thoughts I'm thinking. This is something underneath. So it's something that I almost do not even perceive, but I paid attention, and this is what I noticed was going on inside of me. The first thing that came up when I heard that he got my course, oh, he just got my course for $10. My first thought, which wasn't a thought, my first feeling, which wasn't even a feeling, it was underneath the feelings, was, "Oh, I'm so sorry you had to pay for it." But so that was the first one, because of course, per definition, I am unworthy of being here, and so I have to excuse my existence that's causing you to have to pay $10. Of course, this is not anything I actually think. It's underneath my thoughts. And the second reaction was $10. But I put so much effort into this. It's such a big part of my life. It took me so much time to get all of these insight and create all of these tools, and all of this is worth $10? Really? So this was my second way of interpreting it, which was also in line with my trauma, which says that I'm basically worthless. And so this is the world showing me, in terms of money, my value. So the value of my time, my engagement, everything that I thought was the most interesting and valuable, all of that is worth $10. So that's really funny to see how it's not the thought process, and it's not conscious feeling that you obviously feel. But if you look a little bit deeper and underneath, then you notice, wow, these kinds of things are actually still going on a very basic level. This has been programmed into this body and this mind And all of my life, I have had this program running in the background. And this is why I find bioenergetics so amazing, because it brings you these insights. And very often we are not aware of these things. And here I'm able to see them. And it's when you're able to see them that you have a chance of doing something else, so that you're not just running the programs and believing that this is you, because that's not me. Those are programs that I have. Okay, so these are just some ways in which they manifest. And so receiving becomes more difficult for me. But whenever it is very obvious to me that the person who is giving me something is giving it to me, and it's giving them some kind of a pleasure to actually give it to me, and they really want to give it to me, and this is obvious, then I can receive it. Then it's okay. Then I'm happy to receive it. But most of the time, my programs will automatically want to take me to the interpretation that it's not okay to receive. And so basically what ends up happening is that in my interactions with people, I put aside my own feelings and needs and I focus on them. And so most of my interactions become about something else and do not give me the opportunity of being me, feeling what I feel and expressing what I am, who I am. And who am I? That's a good question. So to find out a little bit more, I asked myself, when do I feel the best? When do I feel like, wow, now I am me, fully and totally, and I can feel the fullness of me? When does that happen? What is necessary for that to happen? And after analyzing a little bit, remembering and thinking and trying things out, I noticed that for me, and so this is for me, this is not for all schizoid people, but for me in particular, I feel the best when I am grounded, when I have a sense of presence. It's a sense of expanded presence. I am here, present, grounded, and there's an expanded sense of being. I am here. That's one aspect. Another aspect that also is present at the same time, whenever I feel the fullest, is a sense of awe. Almost as if the world were this magical place and you're looking at it, wow, and you feel this deep, wow, sense of awe. Amazing. So that's the second aspect. And the third aspect is playfulness. It's, oh, I want to do that. I want to play with that. I want to interact with that. And it's such a fun aspect. You're just wanting to play. And this is the third essential aspect. So when I have all of these three present, that's when I feel that I am expressing me in this incarnation. So it's a sense of presence, grounded, a sense of awe, and this playfulness. So the problem is that I almost never get to do this. It almost never happens whenever I interact with other persons. And that is because of these survival mechanisms, because of the rejection trauma that has been so deeply ingrained, and it sets off alarm bells. And so whenever I interact with someone, I have to stop. And I never feel secure enough, safe enough to be able to just be me, fully and completely and playfully. And so what I get to do is I can be present, No, this isn't true for all schizoid. This is for me in particular. I am able to be present with another person. And this, for some schizoid structures, especially when it's a very strong schizoid structure, it is a challenge to be able to actually just look someone straight and deep in the eyes and be there present with them. That can be a challenge for them. And for me, it can be overwhelming to be around a lot of people because my structure tells me that I should pay attention to everything and everyone. If I have one person, then I can pay attention to them, their needs, their feelings, and that's okay. But if there's 20 persons around me, then that's so much more complicated to do. So it becomes more threatening in some way. Now, it's not that I feel threatened, but there are parts of me that automatically close down. And the parts that close down are the playfulness. So in interactions with others, I can be present, and sometimes I can feel a sense of awe. Wow, this is so interesting what we're talking about. I had never thought of it that way. Oh, this is amazing. Can you really do this? And I can get to a sense of awe, but to get to the level of playfulness, it is very, very rare for me with another person. And that has to do with the schizoid structure and the mechanisms of safety. And so it's only with someone who is very stable, emotionally stable, that I can allow myself to be me, because otherwise I always feel like I'm navigating a minefield and trying to find ways of saying things so that I don't set off any mines that would lead to emotional problems in the other person. And so even if this isn't something that I do consciously, subconsciously parts of me are closed off. Even when I said, oh, I don't care, I'm not going to care at all, I'm not going to pay attention to what the other person needs, I don't care. And I go, even when I go in with that intention, inside of me, parts of me still close off, and I am not quite able to be me and be secure and able to be the playful me that is so essential. And so the loss that I am feeling, the sadness that is related to a loss, but there never seems to be a loss, is in fact related to a loss. But it's not a loss of another person or of a thing. It's the loss of me. I'm not able to be me. I lose me. And that is sad, because I'm here in this incarnation and I'm not able to be who I'm meant to be in this incarnation. There's a part of me that isn't there. It's lost. And so that's the loss that I grieve. The ability to be me and feel me. And so this is why, for instance, in my case, my dream scenario is living in nature. Because when I am in nature, I feel a sense of presence. It's easy to become grounded, present. And nature can easily show you beautiful things, and so it can inspire you to get that feeling of awe. And when I am in nature and there's nobody else, maybe some non-threatening animals, those are fine. But when I'm with the animals and in nature by myself, then I also get to be playful. I also get to experience that part of me, and I get to express it. And so this is why nature and just being in nature and living in nature is my dream scenario. So this is just my experience. But the experience of sadness in the schizoid structure is not limited to me. This is something that most schizoids will experience. And it has to do with them closing off a part of themselves, a part that is able to feel, but not able to feel when it's closed off. And it's not able to express itself fully. In my case, it has to do with playfulness. But that's me. That's not all schizoids. So if you happen to have a schizoid structure, ask yourself, when do you feel the best? Try to look for those parts that are essential to you. And then you can try to look for situations. Like in my situation, it's when I'm in nature that I'm able to express and feel all of me. And knowing all of this, what you can do is that you can practice more and more being in all of you, being yourself fully. And when you do that more and more, it becomes easier and easier, and there's less and less sadness. And then you can start practicing it with people and with some persons, and then with more people, until finally these deeply ingrained structures inside of you will no longer have a hold on you. They will still be there in the background, but only in the background. And you will still be able to use the positive parts of them, like being able to disassociate from your feelings whenever you need to, like in a crisis situation for a moment, but you won't be taken hostage, and you won't have to live a sad life, a life full of sadness. I think this is it for today. So this was a real life example of sadness in a schizoid structure. It's not general in its details, but it kind of, unfortunately, is general when it comes to the schizoid having some kind of sadness because of its structure. So that was it for today. Thank you for listening, and I look forward to the next episode. Take care.